Hi, I'm Christopher Mark Peters, but my friends call me Crispy. I'm a filmmaker, and my feature film debut, Moorehouse Road, which I wrote and directed and co-produced and edited. 1 year ago, it went live on several streaming platforms, including Apple TV, Tubi, and Prime Video. I'm so happy to say that we now have made back our entire budget and we are starting to make profits. We've already reimbursed any deferred and outstanding costs, and we're happy to see that people are still seeing the film in various parts of the world.
What if they had something to do with this? I know it sounds a bit out there.
Does it, actually?
I think we should leave.
Strange things happen out here, but you know that already, don't you?
The film tells the story of three friends, a young lady named Sunny, her husband Flynn, and their mutual friend Tyler, who drive across Western Australia because Sunny is a teacher and she's starting her new life. Along the way, they have to spend the night at a country guest house to break up the trip, and it's not long before they realise that the owners of the property are hiding something sinister. I wanted to make films since I was ever since I was 5, growing up watching films on TV. I always thought I wanted to make movies, but it really wasn't until I was about 13 I saw Wes Craven's classic film Scream. That made me fall in love with the horror genre, and it made me seek out all the other classics like Halloween, The Exorcist, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and all of those other classics. I've always had a love for classic cinema in general, but for some reason the horror genre always just jumped out at me, and it's basically the genre that made me want to get into filmmaking myself. When I was about 15, my mum for Christmas got me this little handycam camcorder which recorded to mini DV tape, and I started making films. Around the same time, my sister had started dating a guy named Dave. He had happened to tell me that he also had a passion for filmmaking and it was a hobby of his as well. So needless to say, we bonded over that experience, and Dave is the one who, all these years later, made the film Moorehouse Road with me. He co-produced as well as was the DOP, aka the cinematographer, and of course he was with me every step of the way, helping me with the story, planning the shoot, and all the other various bits and pieces. We both wore a lot of hats. As I said, we had no big budget. We had a bit of equipment that we'd acquired over the years, sound equipment, lights, and we had both decided that we were going to buy the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. That's how we really started, and so we joined our names together, Chris and Dave, and formed our production company, CHRAVE. Because of the lack of budget, we financed the film ourselves. So meaning we had saved and scrambled whatever we could and borrowed a lot of favours so that we could make this the best that we could. Some of the crew members were even friends and family of ours who were supportive enough and jumped on board.
Action.
We shot this film in various parts near Perth, Western Australia, a few little suburbs just outside of Perth for various location shots and establishing shots, but the majority of it was filmed all over the place, the winery region in Swan Valley, as well as a few little reserves that we got permission to shoot in, such as Lake Leschenalta, which is a campsite for the lake scenes, as well as a lot of people's houses who we knew. There was a couple locations that we did have to pay for to use, such as the hospital scenes and of course the scene at the studio where we shot all the driving scenes. Making a film, especially with such a low budget and a features film at that, does of course present a lot of challenges. Time and organizing people. It's not a walk in the park. But that being said, I think what made us just pull ourselves together was we would focus on the next step and not just focus on the end product. And I think that's what really saw us through. We were able to sort of chip away at it bit by bit and make it work in that sense.
Honestly, it'll be over in a heartbeat.
Dave was behind the camera. We produced together and we acquired a team for various crew. My background in the industry, I've worked a lot of time in a talent management company, so I had no shortage of actors to choose from, especially local talent, all of whom were very keen to get their name out there as actors, and so I had seen them over the years. I did a lot of self-tapes with them. I was very fortunate to be able to handpick the entire cast really, And everyone who we cast was so excited to be involved, and they were just as passionate about working in this film as we were to make it. So that always makes it a lot of fun, because it was always a fun atmosphere. Even when sometimes it was long days, hot weather, especially in Western Australia in February. So to be able to sort of laugh at the end of the day and chill with the people you're working with just makes the whole process a lot more easy. It only took about 3 months to write the script, but then of course spent the following year polishing it up, getting it fine-tuned to the point where it was good. We had a script reading with a group of actors, most of whom ended up in the film. And then after that, more rewrites, more changes, feedback from the cast who read it. And then in the end, I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is it. It's in a good place. Let's just go with it, because you could keep refining it for years and years and years. And as I said, we knew it was going to be a small budget. There was going to be probably changes along the way anyway. So we just went with that. Also, maybe is that when I think Sunny starts to follow? Around the time the script was finished and we were starting to shoot was around 2021. And luckily in Perth, Western Australia, the COVID hadn't taken a huge hold of WA yet. Our borders were locked before there was a real chance for it to spread. So we were able to operate when the rest of the country and the rest of the world was all living in isolation. So that was very fortunate for us at that moment in time. So we were able to shoot and never get cancelled once with the lockdowns, except for the very final shoot day. We were shooting the big climax at the end of the film. A day before, literally hours before our call time, it was announced there was a COVID case in the community, lockdown for 5 days. So our final shoot day was right there and we had to postpone. And then a week later, we were able to reschedule. Luckily, everyone was still available. And sure enough, we filmed the final scene on that day. So that day, when it was finally over, it was our last day, it was just a moment of celebration. We were able to just hug each other and say, we did it, we got there. How amazing that was. It took about 9 months to edit the first rough cut, and then Dave and I, once again, we wore multiple hats and worked together on it. I cut the footage together. Dave would color grade the footage, and then he'd also do a lot of the visual effects. Editing definitely took a lot of time, but luckily I'm a very focused person. If I really want to get something done quickly, I will just literally sit there for hours, days, until it is done. Taught myself how to mix 5.1 sound. Luckily, I was using Final Cut to cut this film together with, so there's a lot of really cool features in Final Cut where you can edit 5.1 sound. I had a lot of wires in my room with speakers everywhere so that I could know what I was doing with the 5.1 editing.
What a coincidence.
That's the one that I said if I could choose any.
Yeah.
And then once we got it finished, we were accepted into a film festival in our hometown. So we were able to have a premiere, red carpet, photographers, the whole works. And because it was a festival, we didn't have to pay for it. That was the best. And this is when COVID really started making its name for itself in Perth. A lot of lockdowns, restrictions. Luckily, the premiere didn't get cancelled, but they had to spread it across 2 cinemas so that they could keep the capacity. And then there was a Q&A at the end, which was a lot of fun. Not as nerve-wracking as I thought, but still.
Chris told me, he was like, I have this idea for a feature film, and I think it'd be really cool if you were in it, and I've kind of sort of molded the main character around you, and I was like, oh my god, that's a lot of pressure.
Creep alert.
After that, we spent the next few months appearing in various festivals around, and then we had another screening for a weekend in October of 2022. A lot of people could come who weren't able to come to the premiere before and see it on the big screen, and that was really the most fun. The pressure of the premiere was behind us, so to have a limited theatrical run at a little cinema in West Perth called The Backlot, and anyone who lives in Perth and who's part of the creative or the artistic world have been to The Backlot. It was after that we decided to go down the process of streaming. So we had learned about Film Hub through various YouTubers and podcasts that we had listened to. So we thought, let's give that a try, because it was very clear with their terms, and it seemed that a lot of people had good success with them, so we decided to do it as well. Uploading to Film Hub and getting all the assets was another somewhat of a challenge, but it once you sort of work through them and things like get your subtitles sorted, sometimes the file type isn't quite right, so you have to re-upload. And it's a big file, it's a feature film in 4K, so it can be a bit of a, but I thought we cannot go through the process of making this film, putting all this work into it, and then just thinking this is too hard at this point in the process. So we managed to see through all the problems. And once it went on Film Hub, it got accepted on Tubi and Amazon Prime pretty quickly, as well as several others, Plex TV, a few others in various parts of the world, and of course Apple TV. And then basically once it was live on all those platforms, we were able to do some paid promotions. The trailers, we'd cut several trailers, like 30-second ones, 15-second ones, put them on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, tried to just basically everywhere where people's eyeballs were going, we wanted to get in front of them. And then after a few months, we logged into Film Hub and saw that we'd made $30,000. And it was a bit of a shock. I honestly did not believe it. I was like, no, this is probably just one of those estimate sort of maybe. But no, it had generated money, mostly through Tubi actually. So thanks so much, Tubi. It was great. And then so all the actors involved, we were able to ring them up. A lot of them worked for mostly deferred fees, meaning if the film goes on to make a lot of money, they get reimbursed what they are legally entitled to if this was a big budget, big movie. And so we were able to pay out the entire cast and crew what they were entitled to with their deferred salaries based on the award rates. So that was an incredibly just amazing thing to be able to call them up and let them know that it wasn't all a waste of time rolling around in the dirt and sweating to death in the 40-degree heat. We also were shocked to find out that a DVD was available through Walmart and Best Buy. Again, that all came through Film Hub as well. So our experience with Film Hub was incredibly great because we were able to make money rather quickly, considering we did not expect to be able to make back our budget in the first year. But the fact that we did was just amazing, and it was a good incentive to keep going. And hopefully every time you make a film or make any kind of project, you want to do better the next time. I'm incredibly proud of the film. It was something I'd wanted to do my whole life, and to have been able to do it and then share it with the world, and then for it to be successful enough to be able to help out those who were involved. Such a great feeling, and I'm incredibly grateful to everyone who's watched it and supported it. I learned so much making this film, being able to collaborate and work in that real team environment. Thanks so much for watching. For those of you who are aspiring filmmakers and who want to make their first feature film, or even if it's their first short film, I want you to think that just because you don't have a huge budget, heaps of equipment, it doesn't matter. If you really want to do it, just put in the groundwork and focus. Make something with what you know you can do, what you can achieve. Make something that is within your reach. You know, nobody's going to start making huge, big budget Hollywood blockbusters on their first go. Start small and just build slowly, and just strive to do a bit better each single time. And don't wait for that tick of approval from a big studio or a big funding body. Just go ahead. Just do it. We did it, and we got on all the same streaming platforms as the movies that did have all that big budget. So it's okay. Just go for it, I say.